Okay, we should be going this time. Sorry about this, guys. I had to completely like bare metal repave Windows. So I'm still getting everything's up and running again. But I wanted to quickly do a thing on Bethesda and the PC Gamer events at E3 2017 because I have thoughts. I have many, many thoughts. And here are my thoughts. The Bethesda conference was overall an insult to the East Coast to drag us there at midnight, 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Pacific time for a teaser for The Evil Within 2 and Wolfenstein 2. Wolfenstein 2 could have been announced at another press conference, at Xbox, at PlayStation, whatever. It looked interesting. It looked really interesting. It was a very dynamic trailer. They didn't need to do that. And but they did. They did an entire hour-long conference, which was, remember Doom? Doom was cool. Remember Prey? Prey was cool. Remember Skyrim? Skyrim was cool. Remember Elder Scrolls, which Skyrim also is? That was cool too. Remember Morrowind, which was part of Elder Scrolls, which is connected to Skyrim? That was cool too. But what do we really have? Not much. Do you really need to announce updates for your MMO? Not really. No, not really. You get that within your community. There was so much for existing stuff in that Bethesda conference. Now, like I said, Wolfenstein looked good. It did. I'll give them that. But they would have left a much better impression had they announced that as part of a larger conference so we weren't bored out of our mind playing Spot the Bears. They actually referenced the Bears. I don't know what it is about bears this year at E3 2017, but bears are the trend for E3 2017. Another trend I've noticed is selling your communities instead of your actual games. And that is an interesting trend that I am still sort of chewing on. What does it mean? I have some theories I'm still working on. But, I made a lot of fun of The Evil Within 2 during that conference. I kept calling it The Evil Within 2 Electric Spoogaloo because of all that white goo that was enveloping everything. But I admit, I enjoyed that first game despite its faults. And then there were many faults. A few people asked me what the first game was like. Great tone, great setting, very Resident Evil, interesting villain, hilariously awkward supporting characters, some really not so fun level design in the early to mid levels, which really wrecked the enjoyment for a lot of people. And I will give them that. I pushed myself through that godforsaken village level when they showed it on fire in the trailer. I was like, yes, burn, you son of a bitch, because I hate that level. But it gets a lot more fun as the game goes on. It becomes much more of an action horror game than a survival horror game, which I don't know how to feel about that. But overall, I really like the concept, and I really like the stuff that way. That being said, we are not going to see that game before next E3. That is going to be back. That is going to be hopefully playable next E3, and that's fine. I'm good with games having a 2-year hype cycle at E3. I'm awesome with that. But man, that's all you got? Don't spend the money on a press conference. It's just that. So that's my thought. I thought that the Bethesda conference did not respect players' time, did not respect consumers' time, and did not respect the media's time. And it's that's what I'll say about that. Moving on to the PC Gamer showcase today. There was some interesting stuff. A lot of stuff that is not my thing, but I can still recognize is cool. What's Ooblets is an example of that. The music on that demo made me want to claw my ears out. I hate that slightly out of tune um kitty music stuff, that stuff. I cannot stand that stuff because that's what it sounds like in my head, that annoying noise. But it looked really cute. It had a bit of a Rabbids feel to it. It had a bit of a Pikmin feel to it. It had a bit of an Animal Crossing feel to it. So there is a consumer base for that game. The Last Night looks fantastic, but I'm getting ahead of myself. BattleTech, it looks very exciting, and the fact that they got a little bit risque in the presentation about getting from behind and penetrating. Hey, Patches. I liked that. That is part of gamer culture to me. I feel like that is what is being lost in this attempt to make gaming inclusive. And it's because of a stereotype that women are destroyers of fun. Guys, trust me, women have no problem with that kind of humor. Stop listening to the small minority of people who are very, very vocal on the internet. Women have no problem with off-color sort of sexual jokes. Trust me. First of all, I am a woman. Second of all, I talk to a lot of other women. I hang around with other women, and those are the kind of jokes that we tell ourselves. If you read that article on Heat Street about the guy who went to the women-only Wonder Woman screaming, 40 and slip, there are a lot of people going, woo, at the Chris Pine, implied nudity scene. But I liked that. That felt like they were relaxing and having fun with the presentation, and I just like mechs, and I like more tactical aiming stuff. I don't I don't I'm not for just aim for the head or just sink a whole bunch of ammo into the body. I like precision shooting games, so I like the idea that you try to avoid the weapons you want to keep. I like that element of Horizon Zero Dawn too. You could shoot off a cannon and then use it against one of the big robots. And so I am interested in that game. And the next game that I perked my ears up at was the Last Night. And it broke my heart to see that developer get up on stage and apologize for 3-year-old tweets. That's not what we're here for. We're here to celebrate games. I think it was actually a mistake. I can almost guarantee the publisher put him up to it because they've already released a statement as well. But you don't focus on that stuff because not everybody watching is living on Twitter. And even if they are on Twitter, they're not necessarily following that little melodrama. For people that missed it, some people complained about some tweets that were interpreted as pro-Gamergate tweets made by the guy who was on stage. And so he got up and apologized for the tweets. And it's funny because I am reading Al Franken's Giant of the Senate book right now. And he talks about the fact that while he was running for the Senate, well, during his election campaign, they tried to pressure him into apologizing for some jokes he wrote for Saturday Night Live that were taken out of context, and he refused because it's a philosophy with anybody who's worked in comedy, and this is where I come from too. If you start apologizing for jokes that people who don't find funny, you're going to be apologizing forever. That's all you're going to do. You're just going to be apologizing. If you really think you did something wrong, that is one thing. But apologizing just because people were offended, you can't do that. You can't, because then part of comedy is the refining process. And one of the jokes that got everybody up in arms was something made in a writer's room. It didn't even go on air. It wasn't in a movie. It wasn't in a book. It was in a writer's room. And for a lot of people, Twitter is a form of writer's room. Not necessarily smart, but you don't necessarily know that something you say is going to be unpopular in retrospect. And that's all those tweets were. They were just unpopular in a certain contingent of the gaming community. Now, there seems to be this belief among gaming marketers that you have to offend no one. And in most marketing, that's true. In gaming, that is not the strategy you want to be employing. Games that have done well, if you look at games like Grand Theft Auto or The Witcher, they target their audience, or player base, sorry, not audience, very different. They target their player base and they serve that player base and they zero in, and it's laser focused. And if they offend people who aren't going to play the game, who aren't in that demographic of targeted players, they don't give a fuck. And that's what you have to do in gaming, because no game is for everyone. So if the marketing on something offends you, don't play it. Just like I'll be hard pressed to be playing an EA game in the next year because of that stupid inclusionist charity approach they took. Like, I am not a UN charity initiative. Thank you very much. I'm just somebody who wants to play a fucking video game. Fuck off, EA. Don't make it that deep. And so this apologizing for 3-year-old tweets, it was a low point in gaming. It was this moment that I think we should all be kind of stepping up and going, something's wrong here. Something's rotten in the state of trademark. See what I did there? But it was just because the game looks amazing. And yeah, it was a few seconds, but the problem is if you're in that audience and you're watching and you didn't happen to be like me, where I woke up and there were 20 tweets this morning with people going, did you see this? That's how I get informed on these, I need to come up with a portmanteau of drama and scandals, these dramdals. You know, it's drama, it's a scandal, stop, you're both right. A guy had an opinion, and other people had opinions about that opinion, and this is supposed to be a stop the presses thing? I take issue with this. And how do I put this? I was distracted. I was thrown out of my enjoyment of a legitimately awesome demo. That game is so in my realm of interest, it is not even funny. Kind of action adventure, retro inspired, that sort of puzzle type. I love games of puzzles. I like those old stupid, you have to take the gum and stretch it out and wrap it around a shoe and then pull the hook off the fishing line, like stupid like adventure game logic. I love it's nostalgia for me. So I'm gonna play the crap out of that game, but I couldn't enjoy it as much as I otherwise would have, because they brought sadness and drama into that conference. If he wants to do a little video for his fans, fine. They issued a statement already. That should be enough. But I don't want that there, because it does a disservice for the people who are not mired in drama, and it does a disservice for the people that know about this dromdal. That sounds like a big monster in a game, right? The dromdal! Right? That's what a dromdal should be, not this crap. This gotta stop. This gotta stop. Because look at the other thing we got at the PC Gamer conference. We got Cliff Blazinski, aka Cliffy B, one of the other people in gaming other than myself, who is still known by first name, last initial, no matter what we do. We both have Eastern European names. Apparently people like initials when you have an Eastern European surname. But he gets up there and it was just truth bomb, truth bomb, truth bomb. No fucks to give. So good. He got up there and he was like, we did an alpha and it was okay. And then we did a beta and it was kind of good. And then we did a second beta and it was awesome. That's how you get gamers interested in your product. Brutal honesty. Yeah, we screwed that up. and he talked about the things they fixed. It wasn't, we had this really great thing and we listened to your feedback. Do you notice that on the Shadow of Mordor presentation? They talked about all the things that worked on the first game, but they just said, we listened to your feedback, didn't talk specifically about the things that they wanted to fix. And that's marketing speak. That's done by a marketing department. And like I said, it works for a film, it works for other things. But when you're trying to sell a game, people want to know those details. People want to know what you think didn't work, because that's going to assuage their concerns buying a sequel. Because the first Shadows of Mordor game was flawed. It was a great idea, but it was flawed. And I am very interested in hearing the developers say what those flaws were. Well, then Blazinski gets up there and he's like, yeah, this was overpowered. And then there was this whole butterfly effect and we had to fix everything else. And is the game going to be completely balanced at launch? No, this is why we do patches. And then he made that, somebody in the chat's already mentioned it, then he made that comment, it's going to be $29.99, none of this multiplayer only for $60 bullshit. Boom! And a lot of people probably went, because, you're not supposed to criticize business practices. Well, everybody else is trying to suck as much money out of the games as they possibly can. They're, the target is $120 to $130 per core consumer. Like your hardcores, you want to suck twice the price of a game out of your core consumers. And, that was throwing shade on Overwatch. That was throwing shade on Left 4 Dead. That was throwing shade on a lot of games that people like. But he's right. He's right. $60 for multiplayer only is bullshit. It is. It's crap. It's something I've complained about. It's my only complaint about Left 4 Dead, that is not a full game. And yeah, people can say you get a lot of replay value out of it, but it's 5 levels. It's 5 levels. That's all. So you are basically raising the price of games by making that okay. And that is why people trust Cliff Blazinski. That is why people like me go, oh, Cliffy B's on, it's going to be good. Because he does that. Because he's honest. And is that going to be unpopular in some quarters of the industry? Oh, yeah. He is a controversial personality in gaming, and I love him for it. I am a big Cliffy B fan because if you catch him on the last day of E3 when he's hungover, he's a sensitive teddy bear. That is a front. To hear him talk about how his own sort of strained relationship with his father inspired Gears of War was amazing. There is a whole person there, but he gets up there and he knows what his job as a leader is. His job as a leader is to go up there and promote his product and have no fucks to give about anything else. And that is the leadership we need in gaming. And you don't see him getting mired in this political stuff. He had women in his demo, but you notice they knew what they were talking about. They were equal players with the women. With the men in that Lawbreakers demo. Like, it wasn't, guy who seems to know what he's talking about and guy that seems to know what he's talking about, and then there's a woman going, what am I doing? That happens all the time in these token girl things in those gameplay demo. Where it's like, oh my god, there's always that, and she doesn't see. I am so lost. It's Betty White on Golden Girls in a game. And those that one woman who was like, she played the Vanguard class, and if you haven't been following Lawbreakers, they unveiled every type of playable class one at a time through press releases. And she was like, I used the Vanguard abilities to sort of sneak in behind people, and it took them 3 or 4 games to figure out what I was doing. That is a gamer. And when you hear somebody talk like that, nobody cares that they're male or female. They just know what they're doing. And I am going to segue into my overall impressions of the format of the PC Gamer the PC Gamer event, because people in the chat are asking based on that, and this is a good segue. I used to be part of production of major multi-camera live events like that. And so I look at that and go, first of all, why? I am always surprised at the hosts they pick. I mean, not everybody can have Aisha Tyler from the Ubisoft press conferences. And I know some people are like, oh, what's she doing there? They don't like her style, whatever. At least she keeps it moving along and makes it fun and seems to know what she's talking about regarding the games without overdoing it. She is a good fit as a host. She doesn't take too much time. She doesn't make the conference about her. She is a presenter of the game. She does her job very, very well. Now, that PC Gamer conference, now, I know that they're PC Gamer hosts, and that is a hard job. As somebody who's done it, that is a hard job. There was obviously some direction issues. They clearly did not have rehearsals. You could tell in the throws in media when one person transfers attention to the other person when they switch cameras, that's a throw. And they were rough. They were really rough, probably because they didn't have rehearsal time, because they want to do this as cheap as possible. And that showed, but also I would have flipped the hosts. I would have taken OMG Firefox resting bitch face girl way over the guy they had. And I'm sure he's the guy in charge. I'm sure he's their main guy. I already covered that. Haza Bergonia. You can roll back and check out what I said about that. But he grew on me, the host. Phil or Sean, that was his name. He grew on me, but he's obviously not a professional host. They needed somebody to do it, and he did it. I think really they should have reversed it, because you could tell, and this is something I'm very careful. I've practiced this a lot. There was a huge difference in I call it the Oakley Dokley voice, hey, I'm reading from a teleprompter now, and we're going to do something very exciting. How do I know it's exciting? It's on the teleprompter. And his actual legitimate, oh wow, I'm really super excited about this game voice. Oh really? He's a streamer. Okay. There's a lot of not ready for primetime player streamers this year. Don't you agree? The mistake that people make when they do big events like that is they act like they have to perform. And it's that Oakley Dokley voice again. And people have tried to make me do that over the years, and I fight them really hard on I'm a presenter voice, and I'm really, really happy to be here. And you can tell I'm really not, because you can't fake happy as easily as you can fake, I don't care about any of this. And there was a lot of that going on. And clearly he was nervous, and clearly he's insecure. That sort of, I am cool, right guys? That moment, I was like, I laughed, but not for the reasons that actually made me like him. But I felt like OMG it's Firefox or whatever her name was. I felt that she was much more authentic. And I think that she probably should have had the main stage. I preferred her contributions. And maybe that's just a personal thing. I just felt like he was trying too hard to be host guy instead of presenter of the games, if that makes any sense. When you are there for games, there were also level problems, and a lot of game developers are shy, so they're very soft spoken. So I watch on my iPad, and I was sitting here doing this, trying to hear some of the guys. So there were some production issues at that PC Gamer show as well. But yeah, it was certainly not. I thought one of the more authentic moments was near the end where Hoshan fanboyed the crap out of Age of Empires. And I know that's an unpopular thing to do because I did, and people are like, really? How many times are they going to release the same game? And I like the old Age of Empires. I stopped buying them because I couldn't overcome the gameplay flaws to justify buying another expansion. So I'm the perfect consumer for this Age of Empires Definitive Edition, or whatever you want to call it. I like that. Yeah, that appealed to me. And that's the thing about this stuff. Everything's not going to appeal to you. It should, however, be a good presentation on its own. And that's what I find has really lacked in a lot of this stuff. The Killing Floor 2 DLC stuff was awesome. Not DLC, event, sorry. This whole games as community thing, totally not my jam, so I get the lingo wrong all the time. But yeah, I thought that was quite cool. I love the old sideshow stuff, and they're on there, and I give that show credit for showing games and not talking about. Yeah, we're definitely gonna wrap way before Ubi, Odysseus, but I give the PC Gamer show credit for they actually gave us information about the games, and that can be a little bit boring when you're not interested in the game. Trust me, I have been there and sat there and bored in person when you can't do anything else. When you're watching at home, I was redoing my kitchen backsplash while watching that Xbox Xbox presentation yesterday, and thank God, because most of that stuff was not interesting to me at all, but I did a video on that, so you can go back and watch that and my thoughts there. But they actually did get into what these games are. And I give the PC Gamer show credit for that. Quibbles with the hosting and production and all that stuff aside, I felt like I understood what each game was. Somebody in the chat is mentioning Wargroove. That looked really cute. Again, I'm just one of those people, I want to experience a team's creative vision. I'm not big on this trend of games as tools. We've gone through games as services, and we're in between sort of a games as community, games as tools place right now. And I think that the building tools should be an add-on, but I want a game that I feel like I can play and have that, relationship's the wrong word, but have that sort of connection, that experiential connection between me and the developer. I want that. And so, you can make your own levels. That's great in theory. I'm not gonna. And it seems like there's a lot of games that are, well, Destiny made money and Minecraft made money, so this game will make money, right? And that's not how gaming works. You may make some money, but you need a compelling reason to pull people away from a juggernaut like Destiny or a juggernaut like Minecraft, and that's very hard. You would think after World of Warcraft, publishers would have learned, but they still try to catch the tail of that comet, and I think it's a mistake. And so, as much as, oh, my stream dropped, well, that sucks. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, that's very weird. It says offline, but I'm still streaming. How odd. So I'll keep going and wrap soon, because this is really weird and I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. But as rough as part of the PC Gamer conference were, yeah, WoW Killer, right? Okay, the stream is still on. YouTube. But it's Ubi conference starts soon. But okay, I'll wrap now because Ubi's starting. But Ubi's probably gonna blow our socks off. But to this point, PC Gamer is the best conference to the show just because it delivered information. And that's a half hour. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I will give you my thoughts tomorrow about Ubisoft and PlayStation, so come back, check that out. Thanks, guys.